I've been planning for us to all die at the same time for a long time now.
What?
Hey, if we choose when we die.
No, I'm just joking. We were talking on the show about taking enough iron supplements so you could live forever. We were talking
So you
off
could
the
be
air.
an X-Man.
And yeah, so your bones would turn to iron and you would
the
live
conversation.
for thousands
No, I know
of
how
years.
we're all gonna die. We're gonna be in Belvin's car playing tetherball on the highway, and a semi-truck is gonna fall onto the vehicle.
Aren't we supposed to have some more structure in the opening?
Yeah, well, I don't want any of this to be in the podcast.
Oh, no.
Welcome to the 30-minute world.
Well, too bad.
Hang on, Belvin. You can start us off. It's just good that we get some riff momentum going.
Yeah, well, welcome to the segment that we obviously do every week, where we talk about what we're reading and talk about the worlds within, the world building. I'm reading Dragon Ball by Hirokami
Toriyama.
Mononoke.
Toriyama.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed the guy's name.
Yeah, no, those were the right sounds.
That was
And
the right
it's
pronunciation
super
of whoever
fun,
that
but
guy
what's
was.
fascinating is that the world building is so haphazard, so improvisational, so absurd, looking for humor. It's like our podcast.
Okay, maybe
We are essentially
Okay.
maybe
Dragon
don't
Ball.
liken this shit to like the most
Right.
famous manga of all time.
No. It's,
Yeah,
I think it's
and if you look up,
apps.
if you go on Urban Dictionary and you look up Dragon Balling, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
yeah?
something
Why don't you
completely
tell us
only
different.
for the
Dan does
listener.
that.
No,
Have y'all read like the first 20, 30 issues of Dragon
First
Ball?
couple chapters.
Like
I
the very
haven't
start of
ever
it?
watched or read Dragon Ball. I'm familiar with the vague nuances of the plot and that other planets and monkey people are involved.
Well, other planets haven't come into it yet in my reading, but it's
There's only one monkey person at the start.
I read the first issue, and it pretty much immediately devolves into like, what do you call it when Japanese people
perversion. Perversion
yeah,
is what
that's
you're
it.
looking for.
That's it.
It's
That's what I was
extremely
looking for.
horny for a good while.
Well, it's
there.
I mean, it's for
but-
like 12-year-old boys. So that's
Yeah.
the demographic.
Yeah, it turns into mostly fighting, but
Who
at the
amongst
beginning
us?
it's mostly
Yeah.
sex gags.
Yeah.
You know what I used to read Ranma 1/2, one of the horniest anime
Oh
of
yeah,
all
the
time.
original gender bend fucking anime.
Yeah, they had it in the library, and my parents let me check it out, and I was like, if only you knew the pictures in these.
Yeah, that was a mood.
Okay.
Reading anime in the library.
Yeah. I must have been in like 7th or 6th grade or something, but I felt like I was getting away with murder. I was like, it's impossible that this can be published.
Dude, the magnet library, like our high school library had like very horny manga in that section. Yeah, and it
Wait,
like
it did?
Love Hina and shit like that.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah,
tell
I
me.
was keeping it a secret. I didn't want anyone else to check out the books.
Hoarding.
Oh, man.
You're precious.
Did Dragon Ball invent the idea of like the capsules that turn into the full thing?
Yeah, that's like the only world building portion at the beginning. Is just it's
the
just
only
like a
world building they
place
ever
where stuff
did.
happens, but they're capsules. You can like throw a capsule down and make a whole bus or a whole house or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Bulma is like rich as fuck,
'Cause
and she
she's-
has like 100 capsules.
She's connected to Capsule Corp
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Well, her father is the CEO of the Capsule Corporation.
I don't know how I knew that.
Yeah, that's why she's a vagabond looking for magic items in the world.
Well, that's just during her summer vacation. She's just having fun, being free, being
They're all
young.
having fun on that island. That's a great opening. I should read Dragon Ball. And I'm coming at the point in my middle age where I kind of, realize
Wanna
I should get out,
It's
read
funny
more.
because Dragon
Yeah, I
Ball
wanna
Z is
revert.
what everyone has seen,
Yeah.
and like all of the like crazy like screaming power-ups and shit. None of that is in Dragon Ball. Not really. Like
Yeah.
Well,
It's just
you
a
can
monkey
see it
boy.
move in that direction as you read
Yeah.
along. But like at first, Master Roshi, this iconic character, is just some random old dude who shows up to save a turtle, and then he goes away again, and then he's brought back
yeah.
again and again.
He teaches Goku the Kamehameha.
Eventually, yeah. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
come on.
I
the
learned
threat
that.
level is so much lower. He's like fighting guys with guns and stuff. Like
Yeah, and the gun doesn't work, and they're like, whoa, what? Whoa.
like Yamcha is literally just a bandit. Like he's just some guy, no powers.
The pig guy is a little pervert. He's the most perverted of all.
Well,
So I guess why I didn't get to become a big muscle dude in Dragon Ball Z.
Speaking of living pigs, our listeners would like us to get on.
yeah, this is a manga podcast now. Y'all didn't.
Well, what I've gotten from this intro, so Listeners, this week I'm the lore lad on our podcast 30-Minute Worlds, where we make up a world in 30 minutes or less or more. And I, the lore lad, serve and the director, or the guy with final creative control, and the other three guys give a prompt word from which we form the world. And if I were not the lore lad, I would be putting horny as my word.
Is this a suggestion?
Okay.
Are you live?
I'm not telling any of you to do it.
Lust episode? Oh no.
That's a fun. It's like a Saw game, kind of. Just sort of throwing that
Yeah,
out.
it is.
Do with it
Dare
what
I
you
curry
will.
favor?
Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Belvin,
Oh, hey, I'm Walter.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Dan.
and it's time to craft a world.
I'm gonna
What
say.
words y'all got?
I'm gonna say bank is my word.
Bank?
Bank.
Mhm.
Cool.
Bank.
Neat.
Some might think so.
My word is recycle this week.
That's also good. Recycle.
Good. Recycling
No,
is
don't-
good.
If you listen to this
Recycling is-
podcast,
Recycling and
never
banks,
recycle
two good
ever
things.
again. Do not do it.
So-
If you do it,
Legitimately
Unlistenable.
don't do plastic
thought it was
recycling. It's a waste of
glass.
time. But all the other
Okay.
recycling is fine. Stars. How about
Ooh,
stars?
Stars plural.
You got me thinking that. Well, you got me thinking that I was gonna have to bring out one of my books for
The
world building.
Calibanting
'Cause you said it was a
stars. Yeah,
segment.
the whatever. I can't read that. It's backwards.
calculating. Oh.
That's
I thought
we'll talk about that next week.
yeah.
Those are three cool words. Other three words I'm kind of surprised we haven't gone to yet.
Because we've touched on environmental shit before.
what were they again? My goldfish brain already
Yeah.
forgot.
Bank, recycling, and stars.
Because we
Stars.
use
3 words.
dump, but this is recycle.
It is.
Right, which has you can interpret that in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, it doesn't just have to be ecological. There's a lot of ways to recycle things. We could recycle
Yeah, reuse.
one of our old episodes in place of doing this and play.
No, we're going to upload one of our old political podcast episodes this week instead. Yeah.
man.
You could recycle a soul. Is reincarnation is kind of like recycling.
Well, if there's recycling going on and there's also this bank, right? That could be an angle for.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, could it be an interstellar bank,
Yeah, it could be.
okay.
like a planet bank, a star bank?
What if it's like
a
a
planet bank is cool.
not a food bank, but like a that's like you can get a new star if yours is dying or something.
What if a bank was a star and you recycled a bunch of trash into it?
That doesn't sound much
Another
like a bank
trash
at this
planet.
point.
Yeah, I guess
It sounds like a star you're throwing trash
I'm
into.
just throwing trash to a star. But what if a bank was what if a sentient star with a mind more vast than we could comprehend, more vast than any computer we could create, and more ancient than the universe itself, pimped itself out as a bank to keep tabs on various vast sums of money?
the star is the bank.
Okay.
The star is the bank.
Because the idea that I had was that like you could cash out your old star when it was dying with this organization.
Like a cash for clunkers,
like they donated to the Kidney Foundation. You get like a tax write-off, and then maybe they recycle the star somehow and give it to like some new race.
I like that. So someone is collecting dying stars and offering rewards.
Yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
do like
That's a
that
hook.
more than Galactus the banker.
Okay, listen. It was an angle.
We're just riffing. Okay, someone is paying galaxies for their old stars
And recycling them into what? That's the actual question.
Wasn't that like when stars? Chessman, you're a science nerd. What happens to a star when it dies?
Right.
Is it turned into like dust?
We're
or
going to
some
have
shit?
to cut 10 minutes of audio.
Well, there's two things that a star can do. They can either, depending on how big it is, it either supernovas or it basically it either collapses or it
What
explodes.
if they're collecting the stars before they supernova and they're using that energy somehow to create new stars? Then either,
Well, isn't that just how the universe works anyway?
but it's done at profit.
but they're being targeted.
yeah.
They're being deliberate.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing with stars that are going to die. The closer a star is to death, usually the longer its life has been, and the further along in the creation of elements it is. Like you get a really new star, it's just like a pure hydrogen star, maybe some helium. A really old star actually has some pretty heavy elements in it. Like there's a lot of the elements on the table of elements, not all of them are created by stars living. They're also created by supernovas. So if you're recycling a star, you're getting like all of that sort of like
that
material
substance that was around when the universe was created, from which matter. Yeah, that dust that came together.
Okay. All right.
What?
Yeah, so there are tons of
The
benefits.
dust is elements, but yeah, okay.
So there'd be tons of benefits to getting old stars. We need to be extremely powerful and able to.
You'd have to have
move
galactic
it and
reach.
harvest it. You'd
Yeah,
have to,
yeah.
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 So who runs the Galactic Bank? Who's and
I feel like there's like two kind of normal approaches, and one of them is some sort of godlike figure, and the other is just a very large, expansive bureaucracy.
What if it was a bureaucracy, or like it was a nobility that was tied to this bank? So it was formerly an aristocratic holding, and it has become like a huge power, and now it's in the hands of some young idiot.
Well, that's interesting because it brings in, it really highlights the space capitalism angle.
Right, it definitely does, and you can go all sorts of places with like the lineage of this bank and how it's been handed down.
I think the new CEO king might be retarded. Yes.
Yeah. It's fine. The board runs everything anyways. Don't worry about
they have
him.
this figurehead at this bank, and the star recycling could be part of his initiative. Maybe it doesn't actually turn a profit. Maybe moving stars is an incredibly wasteful and hazardous thing to do, the margins of which can't even really be calculated financially.
Okay, so how would you even move stars?
What
How
if
is he
it's
moving
not
stars?
moved?
Because like you can't just like tow it. Like you can't just hitch to it and pull it somewhere
Sufficient
else.
technology.
What if we go a
one
bit-
could.
You could build like a Dyson sphere or something around it, and then like maybe expedite its death, and then harvest the materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could use wormhole technology theoretically to move. If you had a large enough wormhole to move a star through.
Oh, so what if we
you
meet
do
in the
that.
middle there?
That's what
yeah,
I was
like
kinda
it could
thinking.
be a Dyson sphere that intentionally generates a wormhole within it that moves it to another.
Yeah,
like
and you on the other side, you have a second Dyson sphere that's empty. It's a cup game. That's how they move them. They play a colossal cup game that costs billions of dollars.
So okay, that makes me think, right? That makes me think that this isn't like this star bank is like a really dense nebula of stars that's basically like repossessing stars that people have
That's
defaulted
awesome.
on.
Like your star is
how do you
dying,
default on your
so
star?
you sign up for like a subprime mortgage on a new star, and you can't pay for it, and they repo it, and you just have fucking nothing
This is
now.
getting
Yeah,
too
or maybe-
similar to one that we've already done, though, I think. The Benevolent Sun, where repoing the stars.
That was like planar. Like
But it's
okay,
in
that's
space.
yeah,
That's true.
I think it's in space though.
grander in scope.
I wasn't on that one. I mean, maybe there's some way to delay the heat death of the star that they have, but you have to pay them lots of money. That's where a lot of their money comes from, is that service that they offer, where like your galaxy won't collapse for another billion years, but it takes a lot of payment.
What you can do, like, because the death of a star is linked to like having a bunch of heavy metals that aren't as reactive, it's a war between the mass of the star and the energy being produced, that at some point it collapses because there's too much mass and not enough energy. You could take the heavy materials, the heavy elements out of a star, and it could have another life if you were capable of doing something like that.
I think
Or add more hydrogen and helium and like really active elements
what if
to a
there
star.
are metal-based life forms that are sentient and can also absorb those metals that work for the bank?
that would be cool. Here's what I think could happen.
Colossi.
Chessmen, they could
Like
take
star
the heavy
worms.
metals out of a star and revitalize it and make it new. But that would probably be even more expensive than moving it. And that's just on a star per star basis. What I think they're doing is they're offloading these stars to either poor worlds that have lived without stars for a long time, poor systems, or
I mean, lives without stars.
there can be colonies whose stars have gone out, and they're like getting grifted by this bank. Or you could go to an empire and be like, hey, you want to colonize this region of space with all these vital mineral planets, but guess what? No natural light there. We can give you this star that has like a bum lifespan and put it there.
That's interesting.
And you pay us.
What if it could be a really old galaxy where most of the stars are going out or are dead, basically, and outside people are moving into this galaxy to colonize it.
It's the last days of the universe. Like the stars are all dying. Starlight is at a premium. And moving stars is a huge enterprise.
The galaxy's overdeveloped, so they can only settle the shitty places now, which have shit stars, and so they never were able to, like... Terraforming is something you can do, but there's no substitute for a good star, even if you terraform a planet.
Right. And, there are a bunch of... Since species have spread galaxy-wide, where there were once stars but are no longer stars, you have a bunch of underground civilizations in, like, hab cities and, like, horrific conditions. Yeah. That are like, man, if we could grow food on the surface again, that would be great. That would be really awesome.
Because really all you can have life that doesn't have starlight, but like there's like ways to generate heat through like tectonic movement and stuff. So everything isn't going to be totally frigid in the right circumstances, but it is going to be dark
I think
as
it's
hell.
a question of like you can settle on that planet, but like the occupation capacity is way lower than it would be if it had like a real star that could support agriculture and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
If only the shitty planets are left to colonize, then you're basically developing those star systems by putting a better star in place.
Yeah, I think this Lamplighter Corporation,
good naming.
Whatever. I think they can do everything that we just described. It's basically this like late, like we talked about late capitalism. This is like late galaxy.
Yeah,
capitalism. This is cool.
This is like the thing's been going on for billions of years.
I think it would be amazing too if a heist on a star were to take place and it was supposed to be delivered somewhere and they instead heist it and hijack the warp machine and it gets delivered somewhere. They lose it. They like lose stars occasionally to people who just steal it for their own systems.
Yeah, there could be that. There could be galactic communists.
Oh yeah,
who are trying
to centralize all the stars and distribute them equally throughout the galaxy based on
trying to equitably distribute stars.
That'd be really
and hate
cool.
That it's like a corporation that controls it.
To rip off a certain writing tool of waltz, a certain nation of waltz from a certain history, there could be a civilization that is out to destroy these stars too.
Yeah, they think think stars are holding us back from the next stage in galactic evolution, that we're clinging to relics that we don't need anymore.
Sure, all these factions. Yes.
Okay.
Space is cool, as it turns out. Let's talk more about this bank, though, or this, because it is a big part of the prompt.
I mean, what we described is kind of more of a corporation and business than a bank. So maybe there is like a bank that, like you mentioned, Walter, is sort of aristocratic in origin. And at this point, is like where a lot of the money is, and like they fund a lot of the corporation's movements, and like they have their hands in everything. But
yeah, like there's a holding company that moves these stars around, but the bank finances them.
Right. So there's Lamplighter Corporation and the Soul Bank, or whatever you want to call it.
The Akash Dynastic Bank, it's called. The Dynastic Bank of the Akash.
Is that a reference to Moon?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Dune. Oh,
okay. We'll cut that. Don't worry.
Is that...
We'll cut you not
like
knowing the most seminal work.
Oh, that was a joke. Moon instead of Dune is subversion.
It is subversion.
That's classic humor.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought humor had to be funny, but you're subverting that too.
The goal of this company it is just profit is basically what they're going for. Because in that situation, they're going to be into all sorts of shady shit. Like intentionally going to places and like pitching you a colony deal to your like empire, and then fucking up the star after the fact, and then going in and...
There are like... What if there's like a really militaristic empire that just wants to conquer, a la like the Mongol horde, and they just want enough stars to continually be moved along with their armies, like so they can just advance across like the plains of space endlessly.
And maybe it's power hubs too.
Yeah. It's a great customer. Yeah.
It is a great... You move a Dyson sphere into place, and then it just like a star is there. You don't have to go through all of the energy of moving that star, and then you don't have to worry about and then like while it's there, like you have a deal with the people that paid for it to get moved to siphon energy. So somebody else paid for it to get moved, and then you're benefiting from it being there. It's perfect.
As long as you have the capital, which they've had until the end of the universe to amass all this money to where they can literally fund the spheres, which are where they lose money, is making more of them.
We're basically looking at a clash of a whole bunch of late stage civilizations, like tier 5 civilizations or whatever.
What does late stage communism look like?
It would be a utopia where everything is created for you, like through automation. Like,
there would be a lot of utopias
there
in the
would be no need for the human to work. Ideally,
people pursue their own passions, and that's it.
There could have been planets like that back when stars were like still like a halcyon age of like space.
That could be what the space commies are going
Renaissance.
for here, is they want to try and get back to that through.
Yeah, I think once the stars started dying, and people, the great migrations started to other parts of like other galaxies, even that might have stars in them.
It reignited class
the sheer
struggle.
Scale of the galaxy, I think there would still be like multiple utopian worlds where everything is taken care of, but there'd be like less and less, like more and more.
Oh, what if there's
and suffering are returning?
Like an internationale of utopian planets that's like just losing its power over like gradually as this shit continues.
I would like that. That'd be cool. Yeah,
and they're like the only force standing sort of in opposition to this military Mongol kind of empire, with the bank as sort of an arbiter between all of this.
You have two main factions plus the bank as a third faction.
Well, are we saying that this is utopian communist consortium?
Well, what kind of utopia would there be?
Exactly. Right.
That's right, gang. This is the leftist podcast.
DSA,
You only found out 35 episodes in, or whatever we're on now.
Gotcha, capitalist. All those times we explicitly talked about capitalism, we were serious.
All those Patreon bucks you gave us, which you definitely did.
So the dynastic bank, they're probably based out of at least some of these utopian worlds, right? They would have a really nice dig for themselves. They have all the money in the galaxy.
It's an artificial planet. A totally artificial planet.
Holy shit, it is.
Yeah.
It's
or an artificial solar system at this point.
It's like cut entirely from quartz or like some insanely expensive like...
What Belvin said, it's an artificial solar system with several artificial planets and like a totally new sun. Like,
because it's all dynastic too, it's like they have the upgraded sun and they have a bunch of moons that are just tombs for like previous heads of the bank.
Oh, hell yeah. You get a whole moon for your tomb? That's fucking sick.
Yeah, you get a moon that's carved by robots to be like your tomb when you die.
Like, it's a planet that's like fucking Dr. Manhattan style.
They commission moons. They have like a fucking... they just buy vast quantities of Earth and shape them into moons and have them commissioned for rulers once they pass on.
Sick.
You could also have like dome or orbular constructions that are essentially like mini solar systems. Like there's like a tiny little star, and everything is just
like a vanity star.
It's like a vanity star, and then just through like an absurd amount of energy being used, you can make that actually work.
You hire an artist to design a planet for you. Like, at first it's just like discs and shit like that, but then they're actually doing like donut planets and crazy shit like that.
Like the tech with all that money too, and it's the end of the universe, the tech would be insane. You'd have like miniaturization technology, all this kind of crazy. If they have warp tech for stars, they have a bunch of other shit that we can't even like comprehend.
You know what? We're describing Magrathea.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Magrathea is they're the corporation that, spoilers for like a 30-year-old book.
Hang on, what if I read it?
What's the book?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I read that.
I saw the movie.
Magrathea is the planet / corporation whatever that created the Earth.
Oh, okay. I forgot that.
Yeah, which it was a great business. It was booming. And then the bottom just fell out of the market because everybody was making these wild ass worlds. Like people wanted an entire planet made out of gold. And it was like, okay, that's gonna be really expensive. So Magrathea is like lining their pockets, and meanwhile sucking all of the
dick in the galaxy,
all of the wealth and resources dry of the entire galaxy.
Interesting. Another person thought to satire business in space.
Yeah, who would have thought taking business to space would be at all grounds for satire?
Who would have thought the modern father of sci-fi satire would have satirized?
So, like, there are these utopian worlds, and we'll call them like the diadem, because, like, if you were to look at them from a distance, their stars all work, and it's like one of the only constellations remaining. In the sky on this one planet that wrote the history of them far away, and that's why they're called the diadem.
Ecotopias too. There's another way in that they're different from the.
Yeah, I'll give you that. You can.
I like to think. That if we're really wise and figure everything out and have no problems, we still want plants and stuff. We wouldn't just make lots of Coruscants.
They haven't figured everything out because their sons are still going to die one day.
Right. I mean, the heat death of the universe approaching is probably.
These are the cool part about this setting too is that so much history has happened that we are approaching what historians would call like a historic singularity, where there's just so much history that no one knows anything, and we were entering a new dark age of information
about
there's like what happened
been
before.
Like 50 galactic consortiums, like 50 like attempts to unite everyone under different banners, and
who the fuck knows if it's the heat death of the universe? That's like 10 trillion years in the future. Who the fuck knows how many times humanity has discovered how to move stars and then lost the technology and then made a new way to do it and lost it?
Right. For every utopia, like for every utopic civilization that exists in this time period that we're talking about, there's probably might be millions of failed civilizations that maybe were utopias at one point.
I think there would be, yeah. This is a universe replete with just ruined apocalyptic planets that are just destroyed and blasted out. Ecological destruction, war, fucking people that have cracked the planets open.
It'd be cool if the fucking the end game like Mongol Empire, they're rich enough through conquest. They're like, we can commission custom suns. We want a war sun, which is a sun that can move through space. And they're like, we will pay you a planet of gold if you deliver a war sun to us that can like accompany our fleet.
It's the sun chariot. It's the prophecy that was Hindu mythology has come true.
It has like a gun battery in it to destroy. It's like just the most vain, like awful.
I think it was like Archimedes came up with like an idea for like basically a giant magnifying glass that used sunlight to like burn ships. But it's that fucking planetary scale.
The centerpiece of their fleet is a warship that's also a sun that was bought for like an incredible sum of money.
It's a weapon that makes like a Death Star look like a bitch.
Well, it has its own gravitational field. I mean, it's its own portable fucking solar system that you can put anywhere. Also, it's pretty good.
So that makes me think about the warp technology in this setting, like how clearly there's some technology that allows people to move
on the high end
faster than light. But we're talking about moving suns, right? And you would think, oh, maybe moving a star is harder than other objects because it's so big. But you think about warping, like one of the concepts of how to travel long distances in space is to punch a hole through the fabric of reality. And if you have an extremely heavy object, a very large mass, you might be getting closer to that point. It might actually be the easiest thing to move at warp speed is a star.
That's cool.
Plus, they're very light. They're just a bunch of gas and fire. I mean, I probably outweigh the sun. You know, I could take the sun.
I think.
Oh yeah,
I could bench the sun easy. And I confidently can say I could, with my height and weight, I could fight two of the sun and probably come out on top. Yeah.
Okay. I absolutely believe
that's what the young heir to the bank says.
Right, we had talked about him.
Literally fighting a son.
Generations of inbreeding.
I think
he's always on fucking space Twitter, just talking about how he can fight the sun.
Well, let's bring it back to horny. So he definitely dies trying to make love to a son, right?
I think
is his name Horny?
Oh god.
No, we just Yes.
Oh, corny.
Yes, his
I
name
like
is
the idea
Horny.
that like this guy's idea of
okay.
a fun afternoon is to like manufacture two suns and ram them into each other to see what happens.
That would be so fucking
Sun
funny
fights?
in this
Yeah, of
setting.
course there's sun
He
fights.
he just has all these spare suns lying around, and he just likes to watch them blow up. So he'll just like have them ram into each other.
What's that super inbred Habsburg dude? Charles.
all of them.
Well, Charles,
Like,
the guy's head was full of water.
Charles V.
No, he was the cool one. But anyway, he's all fucked up. Nanomachines can't fix inbreeding. That's
Yeah, they can't, and he's more machine than man. He's like the rulers in the Incal, where they're just anyway. No one else is ready the Incal.
no.
But it's just an entirely
even know what that
decadent, worthless society. Oh man,
Yeah. He would. The amount of like wealth that has at his control is so inconceivable that he's just wasting it in like destroying a sun a day at minimum.
Well, the thing about that amount of wealth too would be that there would be no way to keep track of it. Even though they're a bank, that's ostensibly what they would do. You would just operate because as numbers approach infinity, it becomes pointless keeping track of them at all. The closer and closer they get, and
well, you start to measure them in different
like how many
ways,
sons
right?
you own, I guess would be an accurate measure of his wealth.
What kind of sons, how old they are, like a life expectancy,
index.
return on investment
There's
for a
also
sun
the
involves
finite amount of elements in the universe, right?
Yeah.
It's not, maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know
You
anything
mean a
about science,
finite
then.
amount of a finite amount of atoms in the universe, or a finite
Well, there's
amount
space
of
in the universe where there's just nothing. Like it's just empty blackness, you know? And as the stars are dying, spaces like that increase.
Yeah, and also like maybe people have hoarded lots of elements over time, or like destroyed them in nuclear blasts, or I don't know.
Do you think that like we dealt with black holes technologically? And
All black holes have been exterminated.
because they were a threat to the suns as wealth, and so we just got rid of them. And the stars are still dying. Nothing can be allowed to die naturally in the universe anymore by black hole, the way it was always supposed to end.
Well, that's not.
Dude, I'm stuck on this air. I'm thinking about the toys this guy has. Like he plays like an RTS video game, and it's like an actual fleet of ships that he just fucking destroys.
Whole civilizations that he's captured for his amusement. Oh god.
He plays Civilization. It's literally like terraforming a planet and seeding new life on it and just guiding it and see what happens.
It'd be funny. Yeah, I keep going back to this bank solar system where they have like 12 suns that the planets rotate around like in various choreographed loops, and then they just they add and remove planets based off like that planet's standing with the family. And like the minor ruler of that planet's standing with the house and its orbital.
Carbon-based life forms are not in fashion this season.
Yeah, like the ruler just turns himself into an android for a summer.
God.
It's all silicon.
Fucking Versailles on an interstellar level.
Yes,
Jesus.
absolutely.
That's sick.
Okay, so just to take stock, we're basically talking about lots of logical extremes in the universe, I guess. So we've talked about like hedonism and capitalism.
The triumph of communism.
The communism
Mongol
group
hordes.
that's like kind of
The
looking
Mongol
at the universe getting worse and starting to decay and trying to counteract that, just trying to like save like believing everyone should have a good life, as most people increasingly don't. Why is there a Mongol horde? What's the motivation?
I think there's always that human impetus to conquer, even when it makes no sense. Even when we're at the end of the universe, that's still going to be there.
Why are these humans?
Well, that's the thing too. They're aliens, you could say.
Yeah, we haven't talked
But,
about
like,
aliens.
About races.
I wanted to describe the societies more because obviously you can break them down into this race is doing this and this. I think in a world too where it's the end of the universe.
This is a post-species
I think
universe.
things would be post-racial pretty much. Like it would be kind of
right
intermingling between species has happened for trillions of years now.
Any society that still exists and is functioning is multi-ethnic in this.
Through
this
gene
universe.
splicing, like every species could mate with every species, and eventually.
Yeah, and there could be like purebred racists who refused, but they would be like isolated in pockets, and they wouldn't have any resources or
that's
stars
the exception.
amongst
like
themselves.
Most people are just like a melting pot of a billion different kinds of species.
Right.
They have all these variations. That's really cool.
What if the Bank Dynasty are the last purebred humans in the universe?
Yeah, the only humans that exist are the different
Mongols. It's us.
Yeah,
I like that.
That'd be funny.
they're just cloning like.
Oh, I thought we were the Mongols and not the Bank.
No, I know the Bank.
That's what I assumed our society would be. But I think in this society, at least the warlike one, they maintain the delusion that they can seize by force that which the diadem has like earned. Maybe it's not a delusion. Maybe they actually can. Their fleet is so vast that if it were to travel faster than light, it would probably like destroy itself. There would be too many ships traveling through hyperspace. Or like maybe they don't have access to uniform FTL travel.
It's not nearly as fast as the kind of instant, like, because when I think of moving a star, I think that happens absolutely instantaneously. Like, I think it just pops out of existence and pops into existence somewhere else.
Yeah, it could be they're kind of chasing the sun around the sky, like the wolf from Norse legend. They're chasing the diadem.
Ooh.
I have an idea for an ethos if we think the Mongol horde needs one.
What is it?
Maybe they believe that as the universe like finally has its heat death, like as the universe truly dies, the creator of the universe will come back, and to the victor, to the one who controls it, will give ownership or like authorship of the next universe. That does make a lot of sense
in like a Mad Max end of the universe way.
For the new world. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I like the idea too. Walt described it like a little bit in passing, like the empire is where the fleet is. It's like how like the king and his army would travel around the kingdom.
It's the end of days. You couldn't administer anything. You couldn't administrate. You could just buy new suns. Everything's an exercise in pointlessness because everything is on a scale that's so vast.
I think it's like almost in my head, like this isn't like things are over, but things are like really late in the game.
Yeah.
So it's like
right.
Basically, there's the crazy multiplicity of the entire universe at play where like everything's probably happening, but there's certain dynamics that have just like spread and infected and are the main characters, so to speak.
Yeah. I like that you basically we now have set up that these Mongols and the Bank have two very specific ways of living based around stars. Like one of them moves the stars themselves to where they want them to be, and the other one moves their entire civilization
to where the stars are, and then they fuck up whoever's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why they have the War Sun, but the War Sun can't sustain their entire economy and fleet. You know, it's just one sun. Even if it is a pimped out gunship that you can theoretically upload your commander's mind to.
It's an engine that runs on plunder.
Right.
Like that's how this society is structured.
And while actually the Mongols, we keep calling them Mongols. We need a non.
Yeah, well, let's call them the New World Empire, just because they want to control the New World.
I think something more mystic than that, like the Syncretic Order, or something like more, because they would have like their own mysticism and culture, apart from just being like the new Terran Republic
like
Empire.
The World Claimers, or like the World Claimants,
Dark Watchers. World Claimers is good.
Because they want to control territory too. Like part of their belief system is that they should like rule over everything, own everything. So it's not just looting; it's also owning. Control.
Yeah. And you know, the actual Mongols, their empire was like very hard for them to administrate over all that land. And a way they got around that too was actually being like pretty tolerant if you surrendered to them, to the people within their sphere, where you could practice all your religion. As long as you pay tribute to the Mongols and you surrender, we won't fuck you up, really. We'll just send in new guys to rule you. That could kind of be what they're about, too, is it's not that bad within the Empire as long as you partake in the projects of Empire, the outward expansion.
Though they don't let in the utopian expansion. So in that way, people suffer.
To them, actually, what do they call them?
The World Claimers.
The World Claimers.
Yeah.
The world claimers. To the world claimers, actually, the bank is accelerating the apocalypse, right? They're accelerating the heat death of the universe by using up stars by moving them and doing all of this extravagant stuff, whereas they're leaving the stars where they are, they're leaving the planets where they are.
Yeah, in a way, their way of life is actually the more natural. It's what humans have been doing, following resources instead of carting them around.
Right. The bank likes to dress it up and put ties on and have business meetings.
But at the same time, these world claimers, in order to fund their continued conquest across all corners of the universe, would have extensive dealings with the bank. They would be selling stars to the bank all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the bank would actually just care about profit.
Yeah, it's a parasitic relationship.
To perpetuate the imperial myth that we don't have enough stars and that's why we're expanding, you have to kind of continually need stars. And if you're conquering all of these stars, you should sell some of them to the bank so that there's always a justification. Well, we actually need more, so we're going over there,
And they really don't like to talk about that.
No way in hell.
You don't bring that up in front of the imperial court. You'll have a bad day. Your last
They're all
day.
robo eunuchs.
Well,
they're all robo eunuchs. Okay, that's
they
the
are
cherry
all
on
robo
top.
eunuchs.
The perfect ending.
Yes.
Castration. Very good.
perfect
I remember the last
ending.
time we talked about Mongols in a podcast episode, it also involved eunuchs.
And
it
Walter
did,
brought
actually.
it up too.
No, actually, Dan
Actually,
brought
I
it
brought
up.
it up that time. Interesting.
Although I would have
Walter's turn.
had you not.
Interesting dichotomy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's pretty good.
This was a great one. Yeah,
Pretty good spot. And I want to eat dinner also.
Yeah.
The sweet spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we have formed our world.
Robo eunuchs.
Next week.
Well, we don't decide the obviously we don't decide the titles
No.
in the episode.
No, it's just called Robo Eunuchs in Space.
No, it's not. We'll workshop
Episode
what it's actually
7.
called.
You listener
Robo
already
eunuchs.
know what the title
Figure
is.
out.
Okay.
The rise of eunuchs.
So who is the lore lad next week, Walter?
Well, actually, next week we have special guest Adam Bassett. He's going to be joining us. He is the editor-in-chief of World Building Magazine, our rival publication, you could say.
That's a bold word to be throwing around.
Sort of the Moriarty to our homes. And we're graciously having him on here. He's a really great content creator, game designer, really fun guy. But we look forward to hosting him, and I hope you guys look forward to another 5-person episode. We have learned some things since last time, so hopefully it won't be as hectic. But yeah, that's what's on the docket for next week.
Yeah, pull aside the screen real quick. This is the first episode that we have done where we've all been on webcams.
Don't let them know that. They have no
as a test
have no
for
need to know.
I look. I don't like being the Wizard of Oz. You know what I'm saying? I like being the guy from Kansas, the snake oil salesman. I like being a snake oil
You
salesman.
asked if I get what you're saying.
Yeah, where are we going with this?
I can't say I do.
Yeah.
What? Somebody in the episode.
Well, folks, that's the show. If you like this episode, you can subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice to get new episodes every Saturday. If you wish, go ahead and write us a review on iTunes and share us with all your world-building friends. It's a really big help to us. Our art is courtesy of the talented and wonderful Shell Tor at Jovial Paradox on Twitter. You can tweet at us too at LoreLads or send us spirited hate mail at 30minuteworlds@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy world building.